What up, sports fans and fellow foodies? I'm Julie, and welcome to my kitchen, where each week I talk sports while whipping up culinary treats. We are closing in on Christmas. The holiday season is underway for those celebrating Hanukkah. I am busting out my White Sox Christmas PJs because really there's only like another week and a half to wear them. I have Bears PJs, but they don't say ho 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 on them, so those I'll bust out in a few more weeks. But busting out the White Sox Christmas PJs tonight because the White Sox got the #1 pick in the draft, in next year's MLB draft. There you go, Sox fans. Something in your stocking from old St. Nick saying, you've been good this year. You sat through some rebuild and some promise of the future, some of the kids can play effects, and now you're going to get to see another top draft pick for the White Sox. Haven't had one since Harold Baines. So something good for Sox fans in their stocking this week. Bulls and Blackhawks fans, not a whole lot of good in your stocking, sorry to say. The Blackhawks found out that Connor Bedard is probably going to miss the next month with an injury. So some sad news there for Blackhawk fans. You didn't deserve that. I know you didn't. Bulls fans, your team is struggling after a hot start. They've kind of fallen on some ugly times lately. Some of the games a little rough to watch. Hopefully, everybody starts seeing some better things in the new year. But we'll talk about the new year in the weeks to come. In the meantime, there's your Chicago Bears, who are sitting at 10 wins. They are back to the #2 seed in the NFC. They are innovative, they are creative, they play hard each week for Ben Johnson, they're balanced. All of that kind of ties into what we're doing tonight, and that is making dessert boards. Now, it's gonna look like a charcuterie board. Charcuterie in England, in Europe, it's more of just the meats. It literally means a cold meat display. We've come to kind of morph it into meats and cheeses, sometimes grapes and things like that. Definitely not desserts when you're talking charcuterie. So we're gonna call this a dessert board for the holidays. And we're gonna give you all sorts of options on how to make it look all fancy and pretty. You can serve this to your company. You can bring it somewhere if you're asked to bring something. This is going to be a showstopper piece with all sorts of good looking yummies for people to nibble on. So the first thing you wanna do is you want some variety. And this is where we're talking about Ben Johnson's offense. You want to see different plays, the trick plays. You want to see the run game, balancing out the passing game. This past week, you saw DJ Moore with that great catch in the end zone, courtesy of Caleb Williams. He had 2 touchdowns. You had DeAndre Swift with 2 touchdowns. Balance. And they're doing it with some style and panache as well. And that's what we're going to do right here. You want height. You want a variety of different heights. You want different textures, different colors, different arrangements. For height, I'm gonna put some Bears pretzels back here, or pretzels in a Bears glass. They're gonna be at the back end to give it height as you're looking at it from that direction. I've got some other things that can add some height, like these little Peeps trees, but you also wanna make sure they're supported. So I'm gonna use some of my little powdered sugar donut holes here. I'm going to use those kind of as a backdrop for my trees. Because let's be honest, they look like snowballs, and they'll give us a little bit of a backdrop here so that that stands up. That's what you want to keep thinking. What do you have in terms of balance? What do you have in terms of structure? If you need to use toothpicks to hold things together, go for it. But again, you're going to have more of your low items at the bottom, more of your taller items at the back. You're also going to be doing things like shingling, which is where you are literally just laying things one over the other, kind of like how you would shingle cards or shingles on your roof. And go this way as well. But you're going to try and keep this from being all neat and even rows. You want things moving in different directions. Again, different motions when the Bears are running those trick plays and you're seeing guys crisscrossing each way. The routes they're running that are giving the opposing defenses fits. You're going to have things moving in different directions on here because that gives you some appeal and some effectiveness. So again, I've got some of my little breakfasty items here. I'm gonna start bringing in some of my baked goods. And I made some cupcakes the other day. I've got some chocolate with fudge. I've got some red velvet with a cream cheese icing. I've got brownie bites in fudge and buttercream. I've got some little cake balls that I've just drizzled in green chocolate and then put some little bows for decoration. The nice thing about putting a board like this together is you can make things from scratch, you can pick things up at the store, you can do a mix and help supplement what you're putting together with things that you just kind of pick up on the fly. Donut holes, I wasn't gonna make donut holes from scratch with everything else I had going on here. So that's just gonna be something you could pick up at the store. Same with the little strudel bites. Could I make them? Yes. Do you have time around the holidays? Probably not. So we're gonna use some of those to supplement and fill in. Again, I'm kind of making just some different angles, things going in different directions, colors, patterns, and so on. And you just want your guests, when they look at this, or your party goers, if you're at someone else's house, you just want them to look at this and think, oh, I want to try everything, because everything looks so good. So we're just gonna fill in, and you can kind of see I'm giving myself different areas to work some of my candies and gummies and things over here. I've got little pretzels, some chocolate dip pretzels that will give us some added shingling over here. And the nice thing is we'll have spaces we can fill in with all sorts of little things like our candy gummy bears. I've got some peppermint bark here that I whipped up. So all sorts of stuff that's gonna give you color, texture. I'm loving the shingling. I'm a big fan of that. If I do a charcuterie board where we do one with meats and cheeses, I'll do a little more stacking and fanning, things like that. That'll give you a little more variety in the look of your board. All right, so now I'm gonna start filling in a little bit with some of this other fun stuff I've got here. And again, this is all sweets. This is all stuff that'll probably spike your blood sugars a little bit. But if you're like me and you're diabetic, you just take a little extra insulin and you're all good. Somewhere my endocrinologist is rolling her eyes and saying, be quiet. All right, so I'm filling in some of my gaps here. I've got my peppermint bark. One thing to keep in mind with the bark, don't put it near the heater in the kitchen, the heat vent. Yeah, I learned that one the hard way last week. So we've got some of that coming together here. We've got some chocolate dipped strawberries. Who does not love these when you see these at a party? So I did some that are just classic, dipped in chocolate. I also did, just because they're fun shapes, I did one that looks like silver bells. These two grew together. Just put a little bit of a edible silver luster over the chocolate, edible silver spray, a couple little silver candies at the bottom. I'm gonna put those right down in front because they're looking oh so pretty. Now, I also have my little strawberry Santa hats, which I'm just loving because they're totes adorbs. They're so cute. This is one where you might want to have them setting on something so they come up a little bit more. So I'm going to bring in a few more of my strudels here, my little mini cherry bites, so that I can have these up a little bit higher and so people are seeing them and they're not getting lost in the shuffle here. All I did for these is I took off the leaves on the strawberry. I dipped it in white chocolate. On the top, it's a mini marshmallow. I kind of hollowed it out a little bit so it would set on there, but I also put some white chocolate on top. So you got a mini marshmallow that stays, and you got cute little Santa hats that will gussy up your board and make everyone say, wow, why didn't I think of that? I love when people say that. All right, so then I've got a few big pieces here. I've got some of my marshmallow snowflakes. These are kind of more decorative, or if you're putting them in hot cocoa, maybe not something you're gonna be munching on, but if you got little kids who are looking for a sugar spike and you wanna send them off to the kids' room while the adults are sitting and talking about, you know, football or whatever, give the kids some of those. That'll give them a sugar high for a bit. So you're seeing how we're filling in here. We've got things coming in nicely to fill those gaps. When you've got stuff like these little gummy bears that are gonna be kind of a mess if you throw them on the board, which you can do. Nobody's gonna judge you if you just take them and go boop and just leave a whole big pile of gummy bears. But if that sets your anxiety on edge, if you can't handle like the little gummy bears falling all over the place, what you can do is you can use little Christmas cupcake liners, and you can use these to put things on your board as well. So let's say I don't want them spilling all over the place. You can toss them in here, just like this. And then you can set that somewhere on your board where it kind of fills in nicely. It makes it a little bit easier if people are trying to grab one than having them dig through this pile of rubble here. I've also got some different truffles that you can add in here. Any kind of candy you can buy that has some festive look to it. And we're also going to do some garnish of roses. And how are we making these? So here's one I made before we started taping. These are made from fruit roll-ups, and apparently it's been a while since I bought fruit roll-ups because I didn't realize that they come with patterns on them now. What the heck? There's like diamonds and cell phones and I don't know what else. So what I did with my little demo rose here is I took some of the patterns off. I just cut them with kitchen scissors. Took some of it off, folded a little bit to give myself a bit of a base, and then I just kind of started rolling where I'm putting these patterns at the bottom, but I want the inside to be kind of tighter, like the center of a flower would be. Got a little bit of my pattern in there, so fold that under. And you're just gonna keep working this around and kind of manipulating it with your fingers to open into petals. So now we'll grab some of my other piece that I've got down here. Again, goofy patterns. Who knew? Who knew? I did not read the box all that carefully. It just said something like strawberry, and I thought, oh, that's red. That's perfect. Yeah, now I know. So if you're going to buy fruit roll-ups for this, especially if it's like a grown-ups party or something, just keep an eye on if they have patterns or not. But I've got a couple of my little fruit roll-up flowers here. You want to put these somewhere where people are going to see them. So you can either set them down front at the very beginning of your board, or you can have them somewhere back here where you're going to prop them up and they're going to pop out on more of an elevated stance. So whatever works for you. You could even put them up here if you want, but it kind of gets in the way of the Bears logo. We don't want to do that, right, Bears fans? All right, so I'm going to keep filling this in. I'm going to let you guys go so you can start working on these yourself. But next week, just a couple days away, actually, Bears-Packers rematch. Michael Parsons is out. Come on, Bears. Go get him. Take care of this. Take care of business. Bears got to stay in control. Can't look past anybody, but this is a big one. They've had it circled on their calendar. I know Christmas is a time for goodwill and cheer, except in the Bears-Packers rivalry. Go get them, Bears. I'll see you back here next week. Enjoy the holidays, everyone. See ya.